Oh, listener, welcome to our show. It's called SmartLess, and it's going to be incredible.
Oh, settle in.
The stuff we've got for you today.
Oh, man, cinch your Speedo because we're really going to get going on this one. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Welcome to SmartLess.
SmartLess.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, so I am in a remote location. Will is in a remote location. Sean,
Still at home.
You look like you're in a different room in the castle.
No, I just have the door open because the dog is laying down behind me. He's been kind of slow today.
Gassy?
Oh, geez, walk us through it. I mean, what a story.
Well, why are you leaving the door open for a slow dog?
Because can you see him? He's on the floor.
Because it takes him a while to get through because he's slow.
I don't know. I just want him to let him know he's not alone.
Huh.
Oh, bless your heart. What do you do for Scotty? You also leave a door open for Scotty?
No. But you know what?
What if you pan your camera down and Scotty was laying next to the dog on the floor?
No, but we got in a little tiff today because he rightfully so. He is correct. I interrupt him too much is what we argued about.
Sure.
Do you guys
Really
get that a lot? No, because I know what he's going to say, so I'm just like, and I finish the sentence, and he's like, "Can you just let me finish what my thought was?"
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
I got to say I'm with Scotty on this. This has been a pet peeve of mine for a while. I have certain people who are close to me. I'm not going to name them, but I grew up with them, and we're related. And they'd go, you go like, oh man, so the other day I was coming down the street. No, I was coming down the canyon and I was noticing that it was sunny. And you're like, oh, do you just want to guess what I'm going to say? Or do you want me to say it?
I know, it's a thing.
That drives me fucking
It makes
mental.
you feel like people just want you to get on with it, right? My wife does the same thing to me. And
No,
I'm
your
like,
wife,
well,
I get it. Your
sorry
wife.
if I'm boring you.
That's exactly what Scotty
Jason,
said.
I get it. With you, it is that you're boring her. And I get
Right.
it. She's not wrong because you're a little bit slow and too deliberate sometimes.
Good note.
With me, it's not that. You see, I'm able to see.
I know. I was listening to what the Tony Hawk episode today, and I'm like, Jesus, Jason. I talk to myself in third person when I'm in the car.
Oh,
Sure.
do you?
Jason, get on with the question. Like the listener and the questionnaire, subject, interviewee. They get it.
Oh, God,
just
this
go
is
ahead
fun.
and just chop it off and let them talk.
Yeah, no, but sometimes you have to relate before you
did
ask the
have
question.
a long question. You did have a really long question from Tony Hawk that was fucking crazy.
I always do, though. Maybe I just like to hear
I
myself
kind of don't
talk.
mind it because you have to give the question context. So sometimes it takes a second, right?
But that's just it. You don't have to. When you're listening to it, you're like, I get it. Or I'm ahead of you. Shut up.
Well,
Let
my
it go.
questions are like, what's your favorite color and stuff like that. So I guess they just kind of stand
Yeah, no,
alone.
your questions, it's a whole different thing with you. After this session, we're going to have a real sit down. Okay?
Broadway
We just
stories.
stay on your Zoom.
I'm
By the
open.
way, the Tony
No,
Hawk
I'm kidding.
episode, I listened to it as well the other day, and I got burned on the Broadway question when I said I made fun, and then he was like, I am doing a Broadway show.
I know. How about that? Tony
That's
Hawk's
true.
I know.
Tony Hawk's doing a Broadway
See?
show.
God, we're all so dumb.
I
So
haven't
fucking
finished the
crazy.
episode yet. How does it end?
We all died.
Yeah, we all died.
We all
Spoiler
died.
alert.
Amazing.
We did?
Yeah, spoiler alert. And the butler did it.
Oh.
Oh, but here's the good news. We have a butler. Hey, listen, I want to get to our guest because our guest is a very busy person. I'm so, to say I'm thrilled is the understatement of the century. I'm so excited to have this guy on our program. He is
The Prime Minister of
an
Canada.
incredible artist, an incredible activist who, this isn't one of these things where like activist for 10 minutes and then like, good, everybody noticed. And so like I'm back to doing what I do. This is a person who's not just talking the talk, but walking the walk. And it's really fucking admirable and incredible, especially in a time that's so complicated and so many issues are pressing in so many real fucking ways. This is a boots on the ground activist. This is a fucking artist who shares with you, Jason, something that that not a lot of people know, that you both basically got your start on Little House on the Prairie.
Is this Andy Dick?
No, this person is a 5-time Academy Award nominee and 2-time Academy Award winner for Best Actor. I just got to get right to it. This is Sean Penn.
Oh my God.
There he is.
Sean Penn.
Hi, fellas.
You started on Little House on the Prairie? Come
It was
on.
a summer job as an extra. Yeah.
Incredible.
Oh, wow. That's so cool.
Were you sitting on a folding chair and holding the whole time?
You know, it's funny you ask that because the principal memory I have was when they broke for lunch.
They said, we just need to get first team through.
Well, I didn't feel it was proper to go to an organized lunch that wasn't within the time period, so I stayed out in the sun in Simi Valley, and as soon as they got back and were ready to shoot, I fell down from sun exhaustion.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that you went and you churned your own butter.
Sean, I just said this today. I was sitting on the couch with my husband, Scotty. Your trailer was playing for your new movie called
Flag Day.
Flag Day.
Flag Day.
Flag Day. And I said,
One of the greatest scripts I've ever read in my life.
I said, that movie looks amazing. There's nothing this guy can't do. It already looks incredible. Your performance just from the trailer is incredible. So it's so bizarre that you're sitting here right now. It was just an hour ago. It's like, that guy's amazing.
I was going to get to Flag Day later, but Sean, get right into Flag Day. Let's talk about it, man. I mean, this.
I
no,
just
I'm
did.
serious.
I just did. It looks incredible. I know nothing about that story. I know nothing about any. I just literally just an hour ago said, that movie looks amazing. I will see that.
That's great to hear. It was a script that came to me many years ago based on Jennifer Vogel's memoir, Flim Flam Man. It's a father-daughter story in which is led really by the daughter who plays Jennifer Vogel and played by my daughter, Dylan Penn. Who
Yeah, that's so cool.
Really had done, little parts and things here and there over the years. She was reluctant to try to pull this one off, and then just stepped into it as a truth machine and gave us something magic. So it's a movie I've got several reasons to be excited about. My son is also in it, Hopper Jack.
That's cool.
So yeah.
Did you try a long time to get them to work with them? Did it take a lot of convincing?
It was, in particular with my daughter, she was of the school of thought as a teenager that the work that her parents did was absolutely silly. Dressing up, adults dressing up and playing other people.
Right.
And it took her time to acquire a respect for the work and for the people who do it in that sense. And so she had always been interested in being behind the camera, to be in the film industry. And so I would go to Dylan every couple of years when this script would appear, when Flag Day would appear, because by appear, I mean the journey it goes on when you can't get the actress you want. And in this case, her face was imprinted on that role to me. Mm-hmm. And so you have to tell those producers, you guys should go on your way and find somebody else to do this. And then it fortunately came back around at a point where she felt she had lived enough life to invest in understanding it, and had spent enough time on sets to kind of get her sea legs in that sense. And then she just came out and rocked it. So it was a long time because she was very reluctant about it.
Yeah,
How does she gain the respect for what you and Robin do? Did it take her just trying it and going, oh wow, this feels different than what I thought?
I think it was more or less that there's an irreverence that children have for parents who aren't doctors. So which I understand, of course. And so it's sort of an exaggerated reaction for a time, but then as she started to be, moved by the work that people do on both sides of the camera in movies and provoked by it, and where she was being hit by it as she perhaps at a younger age was being hit by paintings or music, then it just developed into a more mature sense of it and a more mature embrace of it.
What was your relationship to, did you identify with that? Because, of course, you grew up and your dad was a filmmaker. So what was that like for you to have your own kid who had a different relationship to the arts, and you got into it so young, and then she kind of went a different path?
Well, I mean, the age I really got into it was when I graduated high school, late in my 17th year. But when we mentioned Little House on the Prairie, that was virtually just to put a couple of pennies in my pocket as an extra. Right. There was I didn't have any sense that though my parents were involved in theater and film, I had no sense that that's the direction that I'd be going. I was spending my time in high school reading the books of F. Lee Bailey about his cases and wanting to be a lawyer, a criminal defense attorney.
Wow.
Then in senior year, I started getting involved with my younger brother and a group of friends who had gotten a hold of a Super 8 camera with a magnetic sound strip on it so that you could actually make talkies. And so we started making those, and because we were shooting an awful lot at night when other kids were doing homework and you couldn't get them to come out and be your actors, I would be directing those movies and acting in them. And at a certain point, I felt so invested in film, but I didn't know what the outlet would be. I knew that to direct, you need somebody to entrust millions of dollars on your back. So I went into a repertory company as an actor and very quickly became impassioned about that and then working in class and so on. And the next thing I knew, I was working in the theater regularly. And then from that into film. And after about 10 years of that, 11 years of that, I finally got to do what I'd started out with the intention to do at age 17, which was to direct my first film.
That's so cool. You know, I just watched the Val Kilmer documentary. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yes, I have seen it.
Yeah, it's really, really great. And he just seems like such a great guy, such a trooper. But there's footage of you backstage in New York, and you're all so young, and it was this mind-blowing, you know, because a lot of people think, oh, you just come out of the womb and all of a sudden you're a movie star. But, you know, people have no context about what it takes to achieve what you've achieved. And to see that footage of you just as a kid, and so I don't know what the play was, but it was so cool to see that A, that he had that footage,
yeah,
and then B, to see that you all were just hanging out like regular people backstage. It was super cool.
Yeah, I remembered that Val had, you know, this video camera, which was, I think, a fairly novel thing at that time.
Yeah, you were like, is that a video camera? Wow. You were blown away by that.
Yeah, and he was...
Sorry, Tracy in Wisconsin, a video camera. Do they know what that is in Wisconsin, dude? Sean, I'm surprised.
No, maybe. I don't know. It's good that you pointed it out.
It was pretty sci-fi to me, and he was consistent with it. And boy, yes, as Sean said, I mean, what an extraordinarily creative, kind of magical guy he developed into over time. And yeah, it's really a film people should see. It's sensational.
Yeah, really cool.
You know what's funny, Sean, is that you started not you, Hayes.
Sure, no.
I'm gonna call you Hayes for the rest of the show, Sean.
Sure, that's fine. That makes sense.
You're gonna defer to Sean Penn. But you did all this stuff, and you worked as an actor, and you did all that stuff, and you really kind of, as you said, kind of trying to get to the thing that you had always set out to do, which was to be a director, because you wanted to do that. And yet in that time, you also created and had so many memorable performances, which were just kind of, in a lot of ways, I'm not putting words in your mouth, but like they were kind of on the road to doing what you wanted to do. And I saw you talking about Fast Times recently. And I'm sorry, because I'm sure maybe you're tired, or maybe you're not tired of talking about it. But
you know what? I don't care.
I don't care either. I have to. You're here, and we got to talk about it. I mean, you actually created a whole genre of character. It's like inventing the RBI in baseball. You know, it's like they don't have a stat for a long time. Everybody had a bad guy and blah blah. And you invented the stoner, which to this day is a whole fucking genre, from a performance in a supporting, well, now I'd say a starring role, because you really took that movie. And I remember the first time I saw it. I remember the feeling that it made. I remember laughing in a way that I hadn't laughed before, and thinking like, fuck, and then it wasn't until I was older and going like, wait, I didn't even recognize how genius that was until now. Like, fuck me, man. Like, that movie, where were you at when that movie came? Because it's obviously a great movie, and it's a really good film. Where were you at that point in your life when you read that and you were like, all right, Jeff Spicoli, I'm going to do this? Like, where were you coming from? And were these people that you knew? Were these,
it's funny. There's this thing about adoption. I one time had a conversation with Malcolm Gladwell, and he told me that, it took that the computer mouse existed for 20 years before anybody started using it. And I think that one of the things that happened with that movie, and I'll circle back to where I was at, I think that the nature of that character was in the ether, that we weren't identifying it yet, but that it was in the ether, which is why it kind of, I think, caught like wildfire once it was on a 40-foot screen. You said, I know that guy. I didn't know there were two of them.
Right. Like, I literally, I know that dude. Right.
Exactly. And in fact, in my own life at the time, it is, you'd have to ask Cameron Crowe if this is the case. I'm sure I did, but I don't remember. My sense reading his book, which I read the book before a lot of people don't know that was a book before it was a screenplay. And I read that character and I felt that was what he wrote, rhythmically and so on. And there was a guy who lived in my neighborhood who was a very close model for it. And in fact, about a year ago, I was walking up a beach path, and a very straight-looking gentleman with his kids and his wife stopped, and he said, Sean, how are you? And so on and so forth. And he had to, I said, I'm sorry, I'm not recognizing you. Of course, I hadn't seen him for over 40 years. And it was the fella that I really modeled the part on, and he had, his speech had become very clear, his eyes were clear, his parenting seemed very clear, and it was really extraordinary. But he doesn't know to this day that it was him that it was modeled.
That's great.
Wow.
That's great.
You didn't tell him in that moment, in that meeting on the trail? That would seem like such a bomb to drop on someone.
Hey, your dad is Spicoli.
Yeah. I think I didn't because, the poor guy, the next thing you know, you'd have journalists going over to interview the real Spicoli and bothering him at his house.
Hey, Sean, do you see any parallel between what you really like to do with acting and directing, as far as moving people and affecting people, with what you do with your philanthropy, with being charitable and
All your activism and
yeah, does it come from the same place? This is my first shorter question than I had
good
planned.
for you. By the way, sorry. Before Sean Penn,
Let's
before you
celebrate.
answer that, we got to celebrate how short Jason's question was for the first time. Fucking.
Because you guys got enough of that, right?
Oh, I wish we had
You
a
know
code
where I'm
so
going
people
with
could get
that.
a hoodie or something. You know what I mean? That would be great. Fucking congrats, Bateman.
Sean, was that enough intelligence in that question?
I understood the question, and I'll answer it this way: I'm born in 1960, so if you do the math on that, that moment where we, as adolescents, really, I think, find our lust for film, the kinds of films that were being made at that time, it really was, in my sense, fortunate time to get turned on. Mm-hmm. There was a lot to fall in love with in film. And also within those films, they all, in their ways, without being polemics or anything, felt very, very purpose-driven. And I think we all strive to be purpose-driven and want a clarity of why we're doing what we're doing when we're doing it. And I suppose if there's a parallel, it's simply that. You want to feel productive. You want to feel you're saying something as an actor or as a filmmaker. You're participating in saying something that reflects in a valuable way on the time that you're living in. And I think that that's true with anything that anyone does, stepping out into the development world or emergency response or aid, whatever one wants to call it. Right now, we're in such an active time on the earth in this way. I think about how for me, with my very comfortable life, it seems the sky is falling every day. And then when I try to imagine that through Afghani eyes, or Haitian eyes, and the list goes on. It's really unimaginable, and so for me to have purpose in that is to pick up some of the pieces of the sky that are falling and try to get them back in place.
Does that come out of anger? Like, is that like, you should see Bateman when they run out of almond milk on the set of Ozark. I imagine it's the same sensation, right, Jay? But I mean, does it come
more
out of
rage than anger?
Yes,
I think it's more rage.
Does it come out of a sense like, do you feel that like when you read like what's going on and look, I don't want to. We're not a political show. We don't talk, but like what's going on in Afghanistan, where it just feels like this vacuum is being created that is just of immense proportions. That's so fucking scary and real. Do those moments, does that bolt you up in bed at night and like, fuck, I got to get there. I got to do something.
I don't know if it's that clear. I would say that, yes, there are times where it's alternately, my own involvements are alternately driven by what I like to think is an empathy, what I'm certainly aware is a rage, a kind of, as hypocritical as anybody who claims themselves a hunter for justice is typically. I confess I'm a bit of a justice freak, and there's not an awful lot of it going on right now. So,
but you talk about like, you're like, from my comfortable life, like, here's the problem. Everybody expects like, okay, well, if you want to be mad about that stuff and you want to try to make a difference, then your life has to be absolutely impervious to any sort of criticism, that you have to live every aspect of your life. And it's like, no, fuck that, man. We're all fucking human beings doing our best. And if we can do well in certain areas, it doesn't mean that we're perfect in every other fucking area. And I think we stop celebrating what people do, and we're so cynical that all we want to do is, instead of focusing on what they do, we focus on the shit, on their shortcomings. And that is a world that's the world that we live in now, and it's a very specific type of cynicism that exists.
Yeah, and I hope that it doesn't create a self-censorship of activism among people and a self-consciousness about that, because we are flawed machines at best. I mean, one of the things when we talk about, it's interesting how this idea of cancel culture has become identified with on partisan lines, but we know that with all of the evolution of thought, all of the very powerful ideas and the way the onion is being, peeled back in terms of how we can do better in our world. It's got to be better through a flawed lens if it's going to be legitimate. Yeah. And on the other side, the self-righteousness that is demanding perfect machines is just inevitable hypocrisy, because I can't think of anybody, including myself, who when you get on a high horse about something, there's not something else someone can tear you down equally for.
Right.
And we will be right back.
SmartLess gets support from Allbirds. While it's still summer, we're all eager to get outside and share the collective feeling of life picking up momentum, right? The Tree Dasher from Allbirds is the world's first performance running shoe made from premium natural materials that are better for the planet. I got my Tree Dashers, and they're awesome. They're super, super comfortable. It feels like I'm walking on air. I wear them to the gym. I wear them walking my dog. I wear them all the time. I wear them in the house. They're so comfortable. The Tree Dasher's carbon footprint is right on the shoe, so you know its impact on the planet. Allbirds is a B Corp, making the environment a stakeholder in their business. They know we can create a more sustainable future, but only if we hold ourselves accountable. The Allbirds Tree Dasher is a truly sustainable running shoe. It's built for performance with a low environmental impact, so you can run hard and tread light on the planet. Run into summer feeling a little lighter with the Allbirds Tree Dasher. Discover your perfect pair today at allbirds.com. That's ALLBIRDS.com.
SmartLess is supported by Tonal. Okay, so we all know what working out is because we've all been doing the same thing forever. So if somebody says, hey, I'm going to the gym, you're like, got it. Or you're thinking of going to the gym yourself and you're like, got it. I'm just going to do the same old thing that I've been doing forever. It's just been the same. Traditional strength training equipment has been the same for decades. But that's all changing now, because with Tonal, you got the world's smartest home gym and personal trainer. So Tonal is like this wall-mounted strength training workout machine that features a pulley system with adjustable arms that offer over 170 different moves for a full-body workout. So it's like you can do all that stuff that you do at the gym. Imagine doing that, but better, differently and better. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, better is better. Usually when you're lifting weights, you're kind of using that momentum and you're swinging up with a free weight. Tonal uses a digital weight system that actually measures what you're doing and creates that resistance at every point as you're working out. It's incredible. Tonal's intelligent features They save you time and maximize your results set after set. 17 sensors. It provides this real-time feedback on your form and technique, like a built-in virtual coach helping you improve as you train. So you're working out and you've got a personalized, like having a personal trainer in your home. So whether you're trying to get buff, tone up, or simply improve your overall health, Tonal's training programs accelerate your progress. Or you can build your own custom routine while still taking advantage of Tonal's weight suggestions and progress tracking. I'm so excited because my Tonal is on its way, and I cannot wait to start working out and really just embarrass the hell out of Bateman. I mean, wait till he sees my new bod, my new chassis, courtesy of Tonal. Forget it. One unit that is on your wall in your home and that's going to provide you the best, most personalized training you've ever had. Try Tonal for 30 days in your home, and if you don't love it, you can return it for a full refund. Visit www.tonal.com, and for a limited time, get $100 off when you use promo code SmartLess at checkout. That's www.tonal.com. Promo code SmartLess. Tonal. Be your strongest.
We get support from Allform. As a SmartLess listener, you've probably heard us mention how much we love our Helix mattresses, right? That's why we're excited to tell you that Helix has left the bedroom and started making sofas via their new company, Allform. Allform is the easiest way to customize a sofa using premium materials and at a fraction of the cost of traditional stores. You can pick your fabric, it's spill, stain, and scratch resistant, the sofa color, the color of the legs, the sofa size, and shape to make sure it's perfect. It's like you're your own interior designer. It's fantastic. They got armchairs and love seats, and you can always start small and buy more seats later on if you want your Allform sofa to grow and change with you when you move. Allform sofas are also delivered directly to your home with fast, free shipping. Plus, you can assemble it yourself in a few minutes, no tools needed. I love my Allform chair. It's in whiskey leather and walnut colored legs, and it's in Scotty's studio, and I'll go back there and I'll just melt right into it. So I'll play some music and stuff like that, and I'll just sit in my Allform chair and just love it. It's fantastic. If getting a sofa without trying it in store sounds a little risky, don't worry. You get 100 days to decide if you want to keep it. And if you don't love it, they'll pick it up for free and give you a full refund. They even offer a forever warranty. Finally, we get the comfort of our Helix mattresses in our living rooms. To find your perfect sofa, check out allform.com/smartless. And Allform is offering 20% off all orders for our listeners. allform.com/smartless.
And now, back to the show.
I'm sure you've answered this before, and I apologize for not having heard the answer or remembering it, but it seems like politics would be a natural pull for you and a draw for you. How close have you gotten to seriously considering jumping into that, and does that fluctuate from year to year?
No, there was the Irish playwright Brendan Behan once said, he was asked that question. He said, "I could never be in politics because I only have but one face."
That's fantastic.
I think that, for me, with joking aside, that I just recognized that I would have a much more valuable temperament and support of the things that I do, the way that I'm doing it, than I would as a political leader, which I think takes more of a 24/7 focus on unifying in support of things that are going to help people, and not have those bouts of rage as often as I do.
When was that first time, Sean, when you became, for lack of a better word, enlightened? When you were an actor and just an actor, was there what was the event or what was the thing where you're like, wait a minute, this is bigger than me. I need to step out of myself and really grow as a person and start offering myself in that way?
Yeah, it's pretty clear to me that it was growing up my father had been active both in a formal way in the military during World War II, and then also informally, socially back stateside, and growing up with a lot of civics discussed at the table. That was there. And so as I started making my way through this kind of creative life, there's a period of time where you just I found I had just had blinders on for it. and really just wanted to understand what acting was about and what I could do as an actor, and moving along through that. Then, after about a decade of that, my first child was born, and a year after that, 2 years after that, 3 years after that, 9/11. And I remember my daughter had a little ribbon in her hair, and I took her to a local burger stand. I was grabbing a burger and some fries. And I was just looking at her. This is probably a day or two after the planes and all of that nightmare. And it just really landed on me how much their world was going to be, something that we had never imagined before in so many ways. And I think that kicked into gear. And so by 2002, I made my first trip to Baghdad, repeated that in 2003, the latter trip writing for the San Francisco Chronicle. And I think that those engagements, beginning to travel parts of the world that were both legitimately and illegitimately demonized, or people who were, and wanting to see, not just what our headlines said here, but what their headlines said, what their people said. And I think all of that kind of carries you away. And then finally, it was there in terms of, what led to my organization CORE, that happened when Katrina hit in New Orleans. And I found out by going down there that one wasn't necessarily in authorities' way by going down to lend a hand, and that in fact the authorities would embrace any hands they could get. And so once I sort of had that, license to practice, it just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, that's great.
Hey, Sean, how do you stay informed? I imagine it goes well beyond New York Times, Washington Post, Guardian, MSNBC, and CNN. Is there a group of trusted academics that you have kind of a weekly call with? I mean, to the extent that you can reveal any of this stuff, but you strike me as somebody that has got a level of information and curiosity that we'd all do better to have some of.
Well, I would say to the degree to any degree that is true, it is principally through a network of friends around the world who have a front row seat to how the world works. I often find myself in conversation with people in who have worked in foreign service and have seen the United States from the perspective of these other countries. And you will find a lot more commonality in thought, whether somebody be Republican or Democrat, but that they have traveled in those worlds, worked in those worlds, offered service in those worlds. I think that you get a much fuller picture of what happens, because we have just a kind of monocultural bent here. I do spend a lot of time watching mainstream news, listening to news on the radio, but I do think that the things that are targeted, the things that I can touch, whether, where I have the resources with my organization and so on, and I need to get to the depth of things, then that relies heavily on a network of contacts in all aspects of what it takes to do those things.
And what you talked about CORE, your organization, they made was the documentary they made, Citizen Penn, right, about CORE. Can you talk a little bit about CORE, about like what that day-to-day is like for you, and what kind of reach you guys are having?
Yeah, so, as we know, we had this horrifying earthquake hit again now in the south and in Haiti.
Yeah.
Our teams went in yesterday, to heavy equipment in today, medical, coordinating with a lot of other organizations and organizational leads. And it's a very desperate situation. The road that to get supply in from Port-au-Prince is owned by gangs, and so that there's very big security issues getting supply there in any other way than sea or rotary or fixed wing.
Is there a functioning government not as we know it, right? I mean, there's no real infrastructure. Is that one of the main impediments, apart from the destruction from the earthquake itself?
Well, here's the thing. In 2010, the earthquake was epicentered in Léogâne, right outside of Port-au-Prince, and so that pancaked all the government ministries. So literally the seat of power collapsed. So there was no one to call because they'd perished. And so most of government was gone. In this case, and it will remain to be seen, what's going to be more functional in this logistical challenge and leadership challenge. As I'm sure your listeners know, a few weeks ago, the president was violently assassinated in a commando raid on his house. Clearly, the country is very politically unstable. There had been, last couple of years, a lot of people displaced by criminal activity. Most of that criminal activity in Haiti is paid-for activity, so you have young gangsters being exploited by heavyweights who are trying to push political buttons, and you get a lot of paid violent activity and kidnapping and so on. So it's a very challenging environment, but made. I think that when any of us that work in Haiti, we while there have been some in government that have really, been champions and really fought for their country, you really find the hope in Haiti in the common people. So much is said of their resilience, and it's something that it's just so palpable. Like I said in the beginning of this conversation, when I say the idea of what must this world look like through Haitian eyes, it wouldn't look the same to them as it does to us in the sense of hopelessness. They have a hope. They have, a real strength of spirit, and so
they'd have to, right? Otherwise, because the alternative is just collapse.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, fuck, man. I'm going to take Sean's question. What do you do for fun, Sean?
I was just going to go there.
I was being kind of glib, but what do you do for fun? Like, what do you do in a world that I get it? It's there's so much. What are the things that do bring you? I know you get a lot of joy and a lot of to help out and be so active. But what are the things when you just want to fucking shut it down?
Well, I guess on the static side, I like to write. On the active side, I've always been a surfer and loved surfing. I have done less of it in the last couple of years with all that's been going on than at any other time in my life. And I even each morning as I wake up these days, it's like, is this the day I'm going to get back in the water? And turning 61 next week, I had better get back in the water soon.
Oh,
if
dude,
I'm not going to just
you're
shut
going to do
out.
it. Listen, we're going to come over. We're going to celebrate. We're going to bring some E. We're going to go back to like year 2000. Where all four of us are going to do E, and we're just going to fucking let it all hang out.
Oh my
And just
God.
take it. Let our shoulders drop.
But both of those things, writing and surfing, sound pretty sane and responsible. What's the stupidest shit that you're doing? I mean, like, is it like a bad reality TV show? Is it like driving fast? Is it eating cookies and cake? I mean, like, what's the idiot part of you doing?
Well, I think that you can watch too much cable news. There's no question about that.
Jason.
Yeah.
and it can because I think that there's a thing we have called the nervous system that we want to protect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I literally, so Sean, you need to know. So last week we were out east and we just got back, but last week we were out east and Jason and his wife and the kids came and stayed with us and me and my boys. So Jason and I are both early risers, and he'd come in and like I'd be making a coffee and taking the dog out and stuff, and Jason would come in like 6:37. And before he even turns on the coffee machine, he turns on the fucking cable news, which I never do. I stopped a long time ago because it makes me feel bad.
Yeah,
right.
same.
And I was like, oh, I got to protect the way
It's
I
like
feel.
turning the light on in the
So he
room.
turns it on, and it's on all day. And we're out on the East Coast, and it's a beautiful day. Let's go to the beach. And he wants to go and do all this stuff, but he needs the soundtrack that is eating away at his.
Well, but it's where it makes you feel bad. It makes me feel good that these incredible journalists from my preference is MSNBC, where these guys are shaping these opinions and articulating them in such a way where it helps a dum-dum like me kind of get it out. And I like the way they take down some of these nincompoops that they're having to work, next to and alongside, and it
we have
releases
to
my
bleep that
a
out
little
with the nincompoop. We're going to have to beep it and then everything. Jesus, fuck. What
Wait,
the fuck is this, like the 50s? What are you doing?
Sean, back to Will's suggestion of us taking E and going surfing.
Okay, well, let's make it mushrooms. Let's make it mushrooms.
Mushrooms,
Anyway,
mushrooms.
it's next
What
week
is-
on his 61st birthday. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, having played one of the most famous stoners ever in the history of the world, what is like the worst drug trip you've ever been on, and what is it?
Well, it's funny. When I played that part, I had never done any drug at all, and didn't
Wow.
until after that. But for sure, the worst was I had taken a 21-hour drive direct from New York to New Orleans. Checked into a hotel and thought, okay, it's a good idea to get something to eat before I go to bed. It was about 11 o'clock at night. Make a long story short, I walked into a bar where I got dosed 7 hits of liquid acid and went on a 35-hour relentless trip to hell. That's not an experience I'd like to repeat.
Worst place to do it, too. What a fucking nightmare.
Oh man, yeah, that's a place you just can't get out of. You feel like you're broken, that you're never gonna come back, right?
Yeah.
Oh, buddy.
Have you ever shown up at a place like in that sort of in that emergency time, like I mean your boots on the ground, you get there and the world's falling apart, and then like some local there is like, Spicoli's here, we're okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, has that ever happened? You ever had a weird moment like in a desperate time?
It hasn't. Well, the only place, for example, in Haiti, there's prior to 2010, if they saw movies at all, because movie theaters collapsed in 2010. They were interested in the Rambos and action movies, and so you never got any distribution of the films that I'd done. You didn't have a lot of people with laptop computers watching things. It was nothing like that. So I don't have a high visibility at all in Haiti, even today, as an actor.
Interesting.
The only, I'm going to say, exotic place where I was taken off guard by that kind of recognition was, forgive me not being able to come up with the year, but it was in the week preceding the election called that appointment of Ahmadinejad in Iran. And I'd gone, again, for the San Francisco Chronicle to write a piece on that election. And typically when I go to a place that's really new to me, I like to, depending upon what time that airplane lands, I like to get up very early in the morning and just take a long walk to kind of absorb the place. And I wrote about this, a kind of sense of Iran as this sort of doom and gloom and chant place, which, we'd heard about here in the States. And in fact, it was, the people were so hip, they were so aware of American movies. I think the first thing that they talked to me about was 21 Grams, which had the most sex and drugs of any movie I probably ever did. And they were, oh, we love that movie. So that was the most surprising. The people there are extraordinary. Clearly, they have a horror show in leadership, but there are, really extraordinary people in Iran.
So, Sean, you turning 61, us kind of right on your heels. If you're like us, or me at least, we're halfway. Okay, let's say. I mean,
Are you living to 100? Sorry, we've never talked about this. You're living to 100?
I'm shooting for it.
Fuck.
Do you start thinking about, all 4 of us have been very fortunate that we've gotten a lot of things done that we probably wanted to get done. Certainly, Sean, you seem to have done so many great things. Do you think about this second half? Does something jump to the front of your mind? Is something you really want to get done before it's all over?
It's my wife is a significantly younger woman than I am a man, and she doesn't have much tolerance for me, considering that I'm on the second half. So publicly, I don't know what I'll say about that. But yes, certainly.
Sean just looked over his shoulder, by the way.
Certainly, one wants to. I guess I measure it trying to be a better dad every day. And make sure that on the last day, I have as little shame as possible.
Yeah, I get that.
Just, yeah, I get that too. I remember, I don't know, when was the last time you talked about Falcon and the Snowman? Was it been a minute?
It's been a minute, yeah.
Yeah. I remember that movie. I loved that movie, man. I was like, I'm 10 years, like Jason, I'm about 10 years younger than you. And I remember that movie came out, I was about 14. And I was like, fuck, that's so fucking cool. Talk to me a little bit about that. Cause I remember that was right around, like that was, who I forget who directed that film.
It was John Schlesinger.
Oh. Yeah, it was such a sophisticated movie in a way. Like it was a really, that's a true film as opposed to movie. That's one of those movies that I think I reserve the word. But I mean, that was a great movie. Can you talk? Was that a good experience for you? That movie?
Well, John was an extraordinary film director. He had made Midnight Cowboy, Marathon Man, The Day of the Locust, Far from the Madding Crowd. I mean, he was. And he was very diverse. He also directed opera, theater. And so I walked into that movie as a gigantic fan. And in the period after making the movie, John and I got along great. We didn't have a good relationship during the making of the film because there was a sort of, I had a real devotion to bringing the character out very much in line, which would not always be the case. But in that case, very much as close as I could get to who the real guy was. And by that, I mean, physically, vocally, all of it. And John was interested in a more impressionistic view of it. So we kind of...
Like butted heads a little bit?
Yeah, butted heads a little bit on that. But that said, to be whatever I was, about 22, 23 years old, and to have the opportunity to work with John Schlesinger and Alan Davio, and then my great friend Timothy Hutton on the second thing that we did together. It's a very memorable one. And also Steve Zalian, who wrote the script, who was down there. And we shot most of the film in Mexico City. And so even that part of it, being able to spend time in Mexico, which I'd only ever gotten down to Rosarito before with a surfboard and never been down in Mexico City before that. And it was quite a great experience.
And that was right. Of course, you and Timothy Hutton had done Taps together. And then this was you guys together. I remember I've always remembered that, because there was a lot of press about it even way back then, that you guys were great friends, and then you guys went and did this film. I don't know, it just always, I always loved that movie. There's no real question there other than I just love that fucking movie.
It's also I do have nostalgia when I hear the David Bowie, Pat Metheny track.
Oh, yes.
This Is Not America from that.
Oh, so good.
We'll be right back.
SmartLess is brought to you by Solo Stove. Some of life's best moments, they happen around a roaring fire. That's been my experience. Maybe it's because I'm Canadian, or maybe just because I enjoy the outdoors, but you don't have to be either of those two things to be able to enjoy Solo Stove, because Solo Stove is a smokeless fire pit, and it makes your outdoor moments even more memorable, because instead of having to constantly dodge campfire fumes and all that stuff, you can just sit back, relax, and actually enjoy the fire. So I just moved into my new house, and I got my Solo Stove, and we put it right in the backyard. It was so simple to set up, and instantly it was like we had installed a memories machine. In fact, the first night, before we even had all the furniture kind of set up in the house, and we had like no rugs down and the place was just kind of empty, we sat outside around the Solo Stove, and it was the perfect way to all of a sudden feel at home in our new home. And it was an amazing experience. Here's the thing, Solo Stove, it creates story-worth moments without the fireside fumes, and that's because its stainless steel construction is designed to regulate airflow and burn more efficiently. And so there's so little smoke that you'll wonder how there's so much fire. Solo Stove fire pits are portable and built to last. Super easy to light with a few bits of starter, and your fire is blazing in minutes. And they're so confident, so confident that they offer a lifetime warranty and 30-day free return policy. That's confidence, guys. Check out the deep discounts available during their Labor Day sale and get a free stand with any fire pit, so you can use your Solo Stove on any surface, including decks or outdoor rugs. Plus, use promo code SmartLess at solostove.com for an extra $10 off. That's solostove.com, promo code SmartLess for $10 off on top of their incredible Labor Day discounts. But hurry, the Labor Day sale ends September 6th.
SmartLess is supported by Noom. We all know the pressures we face to change ourselves to fit other people's expectations into how we should look or how we should feel or how we should just be, right? But what about finding things that work for you? The bottom line is most people don't want to be on a strict diet, do 2-a-days at the gym, or drink those questionable teas, you see on social media, something like that. Try something else. Try Noom. Their psychology-based approach will help you find a healthier balance that's moldable to your life and, as a result, more sustainable. With Noom, taking care of your health is empowering instead of stress-inducing. Daily check-ins just take 10 minutes, so you don't have to worry about it taking up huge chunks of your time. Noom knows that one size does not fit all. Choose your goals, and they'll personalize a weight loss program just for you. You don't need rules to lose weight. Noom's cognitive behavioral approach is all about knowledge. It helps you unlearn not-so-great habits and better understand your relationship with food. Start building better habits for healthier, long-term results. Sign up for your trial at Noom.com/smartless. Again, that's Noom, NOOM.com/smartless to sign up for your trial today. This episode of SmartLess is brought to you in part by Lendingtree. When you want to find great rates, organize your finances, or just make smarter money decisions, Lendingtree is here for you. With the Lendingtree app, you can see all your bank accounts at a glance, so you can better understand your spending and saving and build a budget that works for you. Monitor your credit score, explore ways to improve your credit, and get automatic alerts to protect your identity. Plus, Lendingtree can help make sure you're getting your best deal on loans, insurance, credit cards, and more through their wide network of banks and lenders. Lendingtree also gives you personalized tips and insights to help you save money and reach your financial dreams. Whether you want to pay off debt, buy a home, build credit, or just make things a little easier, Lendingtree has your back for all your short and long-term goals. For more than 20 years, Lendingtree has helped millions of people simplify their finances with trusted education, expert advice, and comprehensive services. There are no subscriptions, no fees, no hassle, just easy, honest, straightforward support to make the most of your money and achieve greater financial health. Download the free Lendingtree app now to get started and see why thousands of people turn to Lendingtree every day for smarter, easier finances. Terms and conditions may apply. NMLS number 1136.
Back to the show.
Sean, where do you stand on that? Going back to you having a conversation, a creative negotiation with the director. Where do you stand on that, especially now having directed since you went through that situation with Schlesinger? Where do you stand on whose character is it? Is it the actor's character or is it the director's character? How have you found your flexibility adjusting?
Bateman, are you
that,
trying to start a fight? What are you trying? What are you trying to get him going?
But I'll let you answer it. I won't answer my own question. Go ahead.
Well, I think it cuts both ways because, in my sense of working in the theater is that the director's principal job is to wean the actor out of dependence on the director. You've got to, at some point, let those horses run together once they've got their coordinated interests in line to tell the story. In film, it's different, but I think that if you're not able to let the actor own that character, then you probably cast the wrong actor. Now, there's variances on that where there are times where a director may understand and be able to push you to another level of the same gap, or to make you revisit some of the choices that you made. But you certainly want that the guiding energy on a set is that actor speaks for that character. I think as an actor, we're kind of the designated bodyguard of the character we're playing.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the challenge comes with people who are given a part as opposed to audition for a part, and so you don't really know what that actor is going to do, what the version of that character they're going to be performing until it's about 20 minutes from shooting.
You're saying it sucks to work with stars.
Well, you kind of, a lot of directors have to kind of take what they get, and if you're a director like me, that's a good thing because I got a real light touch with actors. I just assuming they're going to give me the best that they can give, and then your job is to see, well, okay, what version do they want to play of this character, and I got to help them kind of keep it on the road. Whereas, I'll work with some directors where all their you get the sense all their notes are coming from a place of, boy, how am I going to get this actor to play the part the way that I've seen it, all the way through pre-production, even when I first read the script or developing it with the writer or whatever. And that's just, to me, that's just a false negative that a director will put on an actor because the audience hasn't read the script. They don't have the preconceived notion that director has, and now you're asking the actor to go into areas that they're not instinctually driven towards, and it can yield a real clanky thing. So it's great to hear you say that.
There's a kind of, approach that is, a when in doubt, do nothing approach that sometimes frames this conversation for me. I once had a conversation with Marlon Brando where he said this great thing, because there have been plenty of times where, just notwithstanding being an actor or a director, as a film audience, there are plenty of times where I was so moved by something an actor did, and then going back, I'm watching it again, I still so moved, I couldn't find what the actor did. And sometimes, as Marlon said, when you have good writing, when you have good directing, sometimes the job is not getting in the audience's way, that they will do a lot of the work of how that story is telling itself. And so all of these approaches, I do think that, directors who deny themselves the ability to be surprised by what their actors bring are doing themselves in the project a disservice. But there are times that, that it goes back and forth, that it's just that you can get a lot of guidance from a good director as well.
Do you ever want to go back and do a big fat comedy? Just do one big, stupid, heisty, bad comedy?
I have not been offered a lot of those.
Really?
Really?
And I think as I got older, my face became more disturbing and less prone towards comedies. I don't know what it is, but I haven't, when I've gotten to do a comedy, I've really enjoyed it. But certainly I would be as interested in a comedy as I would in anything.
Sean Hayes, do you think you'll ever do a comedy?
I knew you were going to ask that, so thank you.
Sure.
It just depends. It just depends on what it's about and how deep I can find that guy.
You know what, I was just thinking, Sean must be just basking in, because we're asking all these really important questions, and then we keep saying, and then asking Sean, and then Hayes for a moment has these nanoseconds where he's like, they're asking me, and do they not know me? And we've been friends for 20 years. Why is he asking?
Right. I never get asked those deep questions.
But, so Sean Penn, you've got, like you say, you're 61, and you got a lot on your plate for a guy who claims that he's in the sort of the second half or whatever. You don't see, there's no kind of, I kind of call it BS. You're kind of right in your zone right now, kind of doing it all more than ever.
Listener, you got to know, we're looking at this guy right now. This Sean Penn, this guy is pretty smoking, guys. Sean, what's going on?
What's the secret? First of all, Bateman wants to know what's the secret.
Yeah.
Oh, are you talking about how I look?
Yeah.
Well, the secret is framing and light.
No, there's no ring light there. There's nothing. You look crazy healthy. Are you hanging out with Laird a bunch? What's going on?
No, I wish I was. Getting myself back into a post-COVID fitness has commenced. I've begun that work, but only begun it.
What is that? What is that workout for you?
Well, it starts with running. Either on the road or on a treadmill. And then once I've got myself, run out, then I'll jump off that treadmill or off the road into a weight workout and try not to smoke as many cigarettes on the in the course
and
of
listener,
that
just so you know, he has never not had a cigarette in his hand during this whole thing.
I won't admit to smoking. I won't admit to it, but I'm with you.
I call it job security for oncologists.
Oh my God! Don't say that. Wait, Sean, what are you watching right now? Do you enjoy a streaming thing? What do you do? Or you want anything to do with it? So you listen to music instead?
Oh yeah, I just saw Summer of Soul, which is incredible. If anybody hadn't seen it,
Yes,
really incredible.
What is that?
That's Questlove's movie,
Right.
Yeah,
Oh, I'll see that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Thrilling. On a filmmaking level and on the story, it really was something. I'm anxious for Succession to start back up.
Oh, nice.
Sure.
And I'll blank on things. Oh, I just saw Kate Winslet was just so great in this thing.
Mayor of Eastwood.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I try not to get hooked by these things because I'm pretty as susceptible to that addiction probably as anybody, but never got there because I put it off. I didn't see a streaming show until COVID. My wife turned me on to something.
What do you think? What do you think about it? What as a medium? How do you like it?
Well, I don't like what it's doing to film.
Right.
I think that there's something, anything that creates more content, democratizes the ability to make film, gives us more diversity, being able to see film from all over the world. That's got a great part to it. But
Yeah.
like any de facto town square, if it gets too crowded, then nothing's special, and it gets to be a lot of sharp elbows
Yeah.
and so I'm very torn about it. I would be less torn about it if we in acting and filmmaking stood up to our financial lords and said, you have to preserve exclusive theatrical releases of films if we are to do this other stuff. I would like to see that movement. But there is something, as a filmmaker, I think I just fell in love with the girl that is the cinema, the big dark room. So I don't know that I would want to work as a director to that end, but I certainly can get caught up as an audience, and there's some miraculous work that's being done on television. There's no question about it.
Bateman, you ruined film, Bateman, and then Sean Penn just confirmed it, and I'm with him. And by the way, it should be noted, whatever Sean Penn's opinion is also my opinion. It should just be noted going
I
forward.
second
Go
that.
ahead, Bateman.
I
Go
second
ahead.
that.
What about, so the listener, there's a guitar over his right shoulder. Where does music sit for you in this world? Is it a hobby? Is it a passion? Is it your next career? What's it do for you?
It's the passion that I can't do. That's my son, one of my son's guitars. I am a terrible guitar player. If I sang, you'd all be dead. But it is the thing that's the best medicine for me is listening to music. I'm a very music dependent director and in film. Again, going back to that era that I grew up in, there were whether it was The Graduate or Harold and Maude or those films that used songs as part of the storytelling or as characters in the story. I have a great affection for that kind of cinema. And I love working with musicians. I've had some really great collaborations that have been super enriching.
Yeah, tell me about working with Eddie Vedder on the last film. I'm such a huge fan of his, and I know you guys are close. What was that like?
Well, Ed and I had worked on a couple of films together in the past, but then significantly Into the Wild, and he really became the hitter that put the ball over the fence in the last inning, and we had such a great experience. And so when I started Flag Day, one of my go-to things is I send Ed the script and say, "What do you think?" It had been from the early stages my sense that the leading voice of the songs that would play would be female because it's a female-driven story, but that there was a balance between the father and the daughter where I felt that I could insert male voices at times. And Ed brought Glenn Hansard in, who's a great, did the songs for Once.
Love that guy.
Yeah, brilliant songwriter. And then it was my daughter because I was listening to so many great female singers and singer-songwriters, and all of the usual suspects, and then a lot of people I was turned on to by others. But I couldn't find a voice that just seemed harmonious with my daughter's emotional spirit. And then I asked her, and she suggested Cat Power. And so Ed had known her, and so Ed became kind of as well as a singer-songwriter on the movie, he became kind of the curator of the song bank on that thing and worked with all of them. And they've got a record coming out of it, which I'm looking forward to hearing, because it's not only the songs that are in the movie, but songs, I suppose, inspired by the story.
Did he score it as well? Is he also the composer?
No, the composer is my longtime collaborator and friend, Joseph Vittorelli. So he did the instrumentals, but we at times borrowed from each other's themes and took some pieces of instrumental from the songs and layered it in so that it was kind of a quilt we put together.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, no shit. Fuck, God, that sounds so cool.
Yeah.
I've never been able to describe anything that I've done like that in such an eloquent way that makes people want to listen to it or watch it. Hey, listen, Sean, when was the last time you got in a fist fight? Be real. Be honest. When was the last time?
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
It's fifth grade for me. I know you're not asking, but it was
Is it
fifth
really,
grade,
Jason?
And I
Is it fifth
I
grade?
swung and I missed.
Is it fifth grade?
Fifth grade,
I
yeah.
extended fifth grade for many years in my own psyche. And
So you swung and you missed is a metaphor for my career. Hey, Sean Penn, first of all, before we let you go, I have to say thank you for
You don't
being
need to
such
specify on the Sean, Hayes. You know?
Okay, great.
Yeah, you're the one who
Sorry.
doesn't need to.
God,
Jesus
so
Christ.
stupid. I'm so sorry, Penn. Go ahead, Sean.
Okay.
Hayes.
Sean Penn, I have to say,
Jesus.
I have to say, thank you for being such an incredible voice and advocate for the LGBTQ community. Your portrayal of Harvey Milk was incredible to me and to millions of people around the world. So thank you for that, for such a incredible portrayal of an incredible man.
I was very lucky to be able to do that.
Yeah, I read for it. I'm still waiting to hear. And then the other thing was, when I was a kid, we spell our names the same, S-E-A-N. And all my teachers, when I was a kid, would be like, Sean Hayes? Like, they didn't understand it until Fast Times came out. And then people like, I go, you've never heard of Sean Penn? And then, so thank you for allowing me in the Midwest, teaching people how to say my name. So I appreciate it.
I feel for you that it was Sean Penn and that character. As a guy who grew up with Sean Connery and James Bond.
Yeah.
That's significant.
And that's the other thing. I was like, you've never heard of Sean Connery or Sean Penn? So it was, thank you for that.
And congratulations to all the educators from Illinois. Thank you for not knowing
Right?
not knowing how to say the fucking name Sean.
I agree. I was like, how do you guys not know
What
that?
a blistering indictment. Listen, Sean Penn, man, thank you so much for joining us. What
Yes,
an
thank you.
absolute thrill and honor to have you on, man.
Let me just say, you all three are such extraordinarily talented guys. And when I heard you were doing a podcast, whenever I first heard about it, I thought to myself, I'm going to have to figure out how to use this podcast app. And I still haven't. So this is essentially the first time I got to hear it, and it was and it's a lot of fun. And I'll look forward to listening more and watching for you guys on the screen. Super great group.
Thank you, Sean. I appreciate it.
thank
Don't
you,
let
man.
it slow down anything you're doing, please. Keep doing everything you're doing. Thank you
Yeah,
for all
man.
that
Yeah.
stuff and being a nice North Star for all
Fucking
of us.
trailblazer.
Thank you.
Fucking A.
All right,
Take
pal.
care, Sean. Thank you.
See
Thank
man.
you very much for coming on, pal.
You bet.
Bye.
My pleasure.
Bye.
Bye.
The laptop drop.
Yeah.
The laptop drop.
laptop
He's only
drop.
who was the first one that did that?
Well, the listener will have to tell us because they'll remember.
So what we're describing is when we say goodbye, a lot of people just kind of hang out still, and then we say offline, thank you for me. But a lot of people are now just starting to actually just close their
He's
laptop.
the third guest we've had who have just closed. They say bye to us and then they just close their laptop because that
because
makes
you know
the
what?
most
Because
sense.
he's a director and he's amazing. You know,
Because he's smart and he's
It's
like,
very telling.
yeah, it's very telling. It's like, that's the quickest way to shut off the fucking thing. If I close, I don't have to go and like, is the window closed and blah, blah, blah.
You know, one time I met Sean Penn one other time in my life. I forgot to say this to him. And he came up to me because he just saw me do some.
Again, you can just say, Sean, we know that you're not talking about yourself. Go ahead.
So he said to me, he comes up to me backstage at this fundraiser thing I did. He goes, "You're fucking nuts." And I go, "I'm fucking nuts. You're fucking nuts." And then we laughed and we had a good time. And because he saw me do this crazy, it's too long of a story, but I did this promo thing for NBC and I was insane in it. And but it was such a great compliment. We laughed about it, and he was. But that's the only other time I met him. He was so kind and sweet and normal.
Yeah, what a great decision not to share that with him when he's on our
yeah.
podcast.
I know.
Way to save it till when he's gone.
Yes, way to go. God, I met him. I met him one time. I was out. This is going to be a weird ass crew. You ready for the crew? I'm hanging at late night one night at the Chateau Marmont years ago, and it's me and Krasinski and Daniel Craig. Hold for applause. Hold for applause.
Oh, James Bond.
No, I hear it.
And then Sean was there with a friend. And he was at a table over there, and it was like a late on a Sunday night. I remember it was after the Super Bowl, weirdly enough. And he said, "Hey, you guys mind if we join?" We're like, "No, come on." So we sat down and we had the greatest conversation. And of course, because we just had our conversation, he's so cool and he's so articulate and he's got so many great ideas and thoughts and cool, his whole approach to everything, perspectives. And then at one point he was talking about, and we were having this conversation, and he said to me, look, man, it's like what you do, and for you and for me as artists, the two of us as artists, blah blah blah. And I was like, I'm just nodding along, like And then we're leaving as we were driving home. Krasinski goes, we're in the car, and it's kind of quiet, and he goes, "Did fucking Sean Penn just refer to you and him as artists in the same?" And I go, "Yes, dude. Okay? So yes. So don't fucking fuck with me, all right? He and I..."
Again, another story that would have been good to bring up while he's on.
I didn't want to.
And I'll do my story that I should have brought up while he was with us.
Let's call him back.
I was shooting something on the sidewalk in Manhattan. It was a night shoot, so it was, I don't know, it must have been like 3:30, 4:30 in the morning. It was very, very, very,
Wait,
very late.
wait. Since when did Hogan Family shoot at night?
Oh, Will.
Sorry.
So we're on the sidewalk. It's like, I don't know, like West Village or something like that. No cars coming down the street. And all the lights, all the cameras, everything is out on the sidewalk. So if you were driving by, you could see that we're shooting a movie. Obviously, we're right there on the curb. And here comes one lonely little cab, comes down, ripping down and it stops right in front of the set. So he's like 6 feet from us. And the back door opens and out walks Sean Penn. And he just gets up. We think, oh, he must live around here. He just gets up, stands out of the cab, looks at the whole shooting crew, about 150 of us, and he just holds his arms out and he goes, "New York City. Huh? Am I right?" Gets back in the cab, hits it.
No.
Just keep going.
Wow.
He was basically just saying, like, you
That's
guys are
cool.
shooting a movie. I'm a movie star. It's 4 a.m. How about it? Huh? Is this great or what? It keeps
Wait
going.
a
And we
second.
all just thought it was the greatest thing ever.
Wait a second. Of all the 3 stories that should have been told to him, that was the best one by a fucking mile, which makes you so much dumber. Again, bye,
wait,
country
wait.
mile, bye.
I had such a good
very
one.
good.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
So
Sean.
wait, Jason, are you just saying he
Don't
pulled-
waste it. By the way, don't waste it.
No,
Because
this is perfect. Wait, so
Okay.
Jason, are you just saying that he drove up as a fly? Bye.
Yeah, he drove right by the set. Stop.
That's the first 3. It's the first time we've had 3 buys. Bye.
It's a triple bypass.
SmartLess.
SmartLess is 100% organic and artisanally handcrafted by Bennett Barbaco, Michael Grant Terry, and Rob Armjarf. The next episode will be out in a week wherever you listen to podcasts, or you can listen to it right now early and ad-free on Amazon Music or by subscribing to Wondery Plus in the Wondery app.
SmartLess.